host of the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast, president, CEO, and all everything at Torres Media, and a good friend of the show here. AT, appreciate you. What you got going on this Friday?
Well, quick tease that Arkansas fans probably won't care about, but college football icon Danny Werfel is going to be on the next Aaron Torres podcast. So, yeah, he's got a little campaign going. So, we're going to talk a little ball, talk a little Steve Spurrier. I mean, Phil, I know Baby Drew is too young to remember the fun and gun glory days of Steve Spurrier, but, to people of a certain age, like Danny Werfel is a big get for an interview. I mean, that was kind of the first years that I was really watching college football as a fan, and so I'm excited to talk to him later this afternoon. And more importantly, I'm excited to talk to you guys. What am I talking about? How rude am I?
But you remember the knock against Werfel was that he did not have the arm, and it really wasn't a pretty ball that he threw. He ended up having a little bit of an NFL career. Can't you get Chris Winkie on at the same time as Danny Werfel, let them relive that, forget which bowl game it was, but when they played for the national championship? And I still can't get Winkie to block me on Twitter, for crying out loud.
Unblock. He's blocked you.
He did? Oh, I checked a couple of days ago. I'd say he hadn't. He was daring us to tweet our Wordle scores at him. I'm like, dude,
that was a question he was saying. He unblocked you? Question mark.
I didn't understand. So you're shooting for the block, is what you're saying?
Oh yeah,
you want
for Winkie? Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sick of hearing everything that I don't. A bunch of lies and untruths about the ACC and football. So it's just.
What is he at Miami?
Winkie? Well, he was Florida State. Yeah, he's
a Florida State. No, he's a coach. I think he's a coach somewhere now. But anyway, yeah. Listen, I'll say this. Sometimes I find myself in the middle of a social media firestorm, but sometimes it's really fun to not be involved in one and just watch from a distance. I really enjoyed the Miami-Arkansas feud, although you can't call it a fight, because if it was a fight, it would have been a first-round TKO. I don't know if you guys even talked about that, but from a distance, I just enjoyed watching that yesterday. So, anyway.
I watched it from a distance yesterday, too. And you've been around Arkansas athletics for a while now, from a distance, but still, you've been on our shows here for 7, 8 years. You get a sense of what Razorback Twitter is. It's special in a good way, and in sometimes a little bit of a scary way. And this guy who works for the Lebitard show yesterday learned all about it yesterday. That was fun to watch.
Yeah. I'll tell you my favorite. I really only had one Arkansas experience where everybody came after me, and we actually talked about it on this show, but I thought it was funny. It was last year after the college basketball season ended, and Arkansas is, of course, coming off their best season in a quarter of a century. And, we all have to put out our way too early top 25, and it's going to change over the summer. At the time, Arkansas had 3 players that were definitively coming back this coming year. It was basically Note, Devo, and Jalen Williams, and everybody else was kind of a question mark. I think even Vanover, there was kind of some talk that he might transfer, blah, 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 this and that. I think Desi Sills had already hit the portal. So they had literally 3 players on their roster. And, I went ahead and ranked them at 19 or something, and I basically said something to the effect of, this might be a little bit high, but, Eric Musselman will figure it out in the portal. He always does. And Arkansas fans are 19? 19? Did you watch us this year? Are you out of your mind? I'm like, you guys can't even field the starting 5 right now. What are you doing? What are you mad at me for? Give it 2 weeks. We'll get some players, but I can't put you at number 1 when you don't have a team right now. So that was my favorite Arkansas, not happy with Torres experience from Arkansas Twitter. And even that, I think most fans were like, we're a little crazy. Sorry about that. We went a little overboard on that one.
Yeah, AT, luckily Arkansas Twitter hasn't come at me yet, and that's a big yet. I'm sure they definitely will. But Memphis Twitter has been real split on my timelines and feeds and everything. A lot of people like me are frustrated over it, not thinking it's going to work, and other people refuse to take their Memphis blindfolds off and just keep going about their day. See no evil, hear no evil. There is no evil when it comes to Penny Hardaway. What are your thoughts about his post-game explosion on the media, then also just the game in general? I mean, didn't score a single point until the 14-minute mark of the game.
Yeah, well, obviously, look, I mean, as far as the media blow up, I mean, it was just stupid, right? I mean, first of all, I say this all the time. Penny Hardaway, this idea that the media is rooting against him. Like, there would be nothing better than college basketball than if Penny Hardaway, a former NBA All-Star, who clearly is a very good recruiter, was able to put together a top 5 or top. That'd be great for college basketball, but it's not happening. And so the idea that the media is after him is whatever. I will say this, Drew. I had this thought. I don't know what the future holds for him. I don't get the sense. I don't even know if he wants to be there anymore, but I don't really know what option he's going to have. And I do think, look, there's a sense of pride. I mean, we all have an alma mater. We all have places that we love. And I think his frustration is coming from a place of he wants to figure it out. What I would also say is, at some point he has to be held accountable because they're all his players for 4 years now. Year one obviously wasn't, but the last 3 have been all his players. He's flipped over the assistant coaching staff 2, 3, 4 times, and at some point, he's the only constant. Mm-hmm. And so, I had this thought is that it does kind of remind me of the situation with Harbaugh in football last year, and obviously Harbaugh's situation right now is completely different. But a year ago, the administration kind of had to sit him down and said, look, man, we'll keep you, but your way of working isn't doing things, and we're going to help you put together a little bit of a different staff, and we're going to give you some money for some recruiting stuff and some this stuff and some whatever, but you're not doing this alone because you've been doing it alone your way, and your way isn't working. And that's kind of my opinion of this is that it seems from a distance that Penny Hardaway isn't really listening to anybody. And he's gone through, like I said, 5, 6, 7 assistant coaches. And listen, I know, to bring it back to Arkansas, I know it's always a topic of conversation in the offseason when, if Coach Muss loses an assistant here or there, but Coach Muss wins. And, that's the difference is Penny isn't winning. He's flipped over his staff. Obviously, we saw the news this week. Rasheed Wallace isn't going to be back. I would suspect at 81 years old, Larry Brown doesn't have a significant future with Memphis basketball. And I think all this time, Penny has kind of had the leverage to get what he wants from Memphis. Well, now he has no leverage. I don't think he's getting an NBA job this offseason. I don't think they really want to fire him. But I do think it's kind of a come-to-Jesus moment where it's like, your way's not working, and let's figure this out together. Let's get this done the right way. But that's my biggest takeaway is it's just, at this point, I don't know how you can point fingers at the media or injuries or this or that. It's like everybody has injuries. My alma mater, UConn, had 2 key players out for a big chunk of the season. Obviously, Arkansas has had games without J.D. Note. They've had games without their coach for, whatever. So you get the point I'm trying to make, Drew. I feel bad. I want it to work, but it's just not working. It's not to say that it can't work. But it's not working right now.
No, I'm 100% with you, AT. And I even said it 4 years ago when the rumors were coming around that it's either going to finish one of 2 ways. Just like any relationship that you enter into, you're either going to ride off into the sunset or you're going to break up and you're going to hate each other. And I knew the fact that it was a big possibility that it could ruin the legacy of Penny Hardaway with my alma mater. Now on to your alma mater with the news of Kevin Ollie going to get that big payday. Does he get it within the 10 days that they're supposed to give it to, or is he going to work out a deal? What's your thoughts on the Kevin Ollie situation?
Man, you guys are throwing all sorts of great topics at me today. It's fascinating, and, I've talked about it on my podcast. There was so much that happened yesterday. I didn't even talk about it on today's show, but I bring it up because it's an interesting deal. And Drew, I think what you just said about your alma mater is kind of how I feel about this one, too, is that I love my school. Kevin Ollie, ironically, an alum. He did win a national championship, but it was clearly with Jim Calhoun's players. The program completely cratered in his final couple years there. Back-to-back losing season for the first time since the early 1980s in his last 2 years. But what I would also say, and I said this at the time, I love my school. They had to move on. I'm glad that the university got Dan Hurley as its head coach. But what they tried to do to Kevin Ollie, I thought was completely unfair, and that was they basically took super minor violations, pretended that they were major violations, and essentially tried to fire him with cause without paying him the money that was owed on his contract, which the school gave to him. And so when I look at yesterday's story, I think 2 things can be true. I think Kevin Ollie had to be fired when he was fired. I think it all worked out for the best for UConn. But, if he was, I think his final year he was 14-18 at UConn. If he was 29-3, he would not have gotten fired because of what he did via the NCAA. He got fired because of performance, not because of NCAA rules. And so because of it, I don't know how it's going to affect the bottom line of the athletic department, but I think the man deserves his money. And it's not his fault that they gave him a big contract. He did win a national championship. And listen, it's easy for me to say. It's not my checkbook that's got to come up with $11 million in the next 10 days. But at the same time, I thought based on my understanding of things, and I had some pretty good insight when it all happened, that he was probably deserving of that money, and it was probably unfair of the school to try to keep it from him.
I'd expect a phone call from the booster club.
Yeah, I would too.
Pretty soon, AT. Yeah,
I know, right? Hey, Torres Media. Hey, I heard that media company's going good. Can you, you got a couple dollars to spend anyway. Neither here nor there.
That's funny. AT, I know you got to run. We'll leave it there. Appreciate you, man. Have a great weekend.
BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the #1 spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile wagering to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE to get started. That's BLEAV. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.